Hey, Bookworms of Concord. So in this video, I'm going to talk a little bit about some books I think that are underrated that deserve the spotlight. And I've chosen these books off my bookshelf because these are books that I just don't see people talking about on Book Talk or BookTube. They're just it's always like these super popular, overhyped books, you know, like ACOTAR, basically anything by Sarah J. Maas and other authors that write, you know, romantasy books, and a few other books as well. So these are just the ones I wish people would talk more about, and just talking about other books in general that just not everybody is talking about, you know, trying to jump on the hype train just to get views. So these are my books. So the first book I think is underrated is Oliver Twist by Charles Dickens. I read this a few months ago in January, actually, and it was a lot better than I expected to be. I've talked about this before, where it's always a hit or a miss with me when it comes to classic literature, and Oliver Twist was a surprising hit. It's thicker than you think it would be. It's always had, the story has always had a close place in my heart because I played as Mr. Brownlow in a middle school play, and I've watched the 1968 musical with my mom often. It was like one of her favorite movies to watch, and Oliver and Company by, I think it's Disney. I always forget if it's Disney or DreamWorks. They're almost exactly the same. But if you know the cartoon movie, then you know that is based on Oliver Twist. So it's just a really well-written, beautiful story of redemption, really. And if you're a Christian, it's a good baptismal story. I've already written the article for my blog, The Lutheran Column, which is thelutherancolumn.com, if you want to see what I've written so far. But in the future, I have an essay that I will be publishing that dives into those themes of Oliver Twist. Another underrated book is Cell by Stephen King. If you watched my video just before this about horror books that felt like a nightmare in the best way, this is one of them. It's just a unique take on zombies. I mean, they're not exactly zombies, but they're zombie-like. And I think it should be up there with Stephen King's other popular books. Like I've said before, it's not my favorite. It's not one of my favorites of Stephen King's, but it's better than what I think people give it credit for. Another one I think is underrated is The Outsider by Stephen King. I really like this. It's a blend of mystery and gothic horror. This is one I've read some people's critiques on it, and I think they're just too harsh, in my opinion. And I hate reading critiques before spoiler-free critiques before I read a book, and I read some of those. And so I was expecting it to be not very good, but it was great. I really enjoyed it. So let that be a lesson. Don't read a review, especially if it's not spoiler free, before you read a book. The next underrated book is Unknown Soldiers by Väinö Linna. This is obviously an underrated book in America because this is a Finnish classic about the Winter War. My wife is from Finland, and she strongly recommended that I read this book. It's not nonfiction. It is military historical fiction about the Winter War, but it's just it's great. If you want to know what the Finnish sisu is all about, read this. You'll get plenty of that. This was a very enjoyable read. Another one that's going to be underrated for obvious reasons is Ecclesia. Pastoral Theology in the Zombie Plague by Reverend Garen Pei. Like me, he is a Lutheran pastor in the Lutheran Church Missouri Synod, and it's underrated because, one, he's a Christian author and it was self-published, but so it's just underrated. It was a very well-written story, and there are some grammar and spelling issues because it was self-published, but there weren't nearly as many as you might expect. But I was willing to look past that, and it's just a really good story and a good take on, what if a zombie plague were to happen. And the main point is that it's not an apocalypse, because there's only one apocalypse, and that's the return of Jesus Christ. That's what the book of Revelation is about. Revelation in Greek is apokalypsis, which is where you get apocalypse from. So Revelation is literally the apocalypse of Jesus Christ when you read it in Greek. Some more underrated books. This is a duology by Dan Simmons, Ilium and Olympos. I put this on the list instead of the Hyperion Contos series because I have seen people talk about the Hyperion Contos on YouTube and TikTok, but not these. These are amazing. It's the Iliad in space. That's really all you need to know. So the Iliad in space and the Odyssey in space as well. It's just, these are among my favorite books I've read of all time. Another underrated book is Call of Madness by Julie Dean Smith. This is book 1 of a 4-part series. It's a really well-written, obscure fantasy book that I found this first one at an antique bookstore when I was visiting my wife in Finland, because she's there studying at the University of Helsinki right now. And then I ordered the remaining books off of Thrift Books, the app, when I got back. Like I did with The Outsider, I read some reviews first and was expecting this to be not so good, but it was a lot better, again, than I thought, than I thought it would be. So again, let that be a lesson. Just read it for yourself and don't depend so much on what other people say. Even my own reviews. If I say a book is good, that doesn't mean you'll like it. If I have lower opinions of a book, that doesn't mean you shouldn't read it. There you go. Next, I think Frankenstein is underrated by Mary Shelley. I don't think enough people talk about this classic. It's still largely misunderstood as a horror novel when it's actually just sci-fi, and it's a great story, some brilliant philosophy in there. Mary Shelley wrote this when she was 18, an absolute genius. Next, Dracula by Bram Stoker is vastly underrated, I think, because most of what people know about Dracula is a 1992 film starring Keanu Reeves, which is a terrible film because it relegates this classic into cheap sensuality, into soft porn. That's what the movie is. It's a huge insult to actual Bram Stoker's Dracula. Next is Slender Man. This was published anonymously. I think this is underrated. I read reviews after reading it, and a lot of people didn't like how it utilizes multiple types of media to tell the story. But I think those critiques are too harsh. I really enjoy the different style of narrating a story. Just different clips of media, whether it's like a newspaper article or a blog, text messages, and maybe descriptions of videos. I can't remember, but I really enjoyed this book. And lastly, underrated book is Poppy by Avi. This is just an adorable children's or young adult novel. This was the first book I ever read in one day, way back in elementary school. This was a significant part of me loving to read when I was a kid. There's some beautiful pictures in there, some illustrations. This is my wife's copy because I told her about how influential this book was to me as a kid, as a young reader, and so she got her own copy. But yeah, if you like reading children's books and young adult novels, you probably like this. Again, critiques on Goodreads are way too harsh. So that's it. Let me know what you think. Okay, bye.